We're back on the record at 4:11.
Anyone else need coffee? Then we have to wait.
No, no.
You can put it there.
No, I don't drink coffee.
Sorry.
We're on the record.
Sir, did you obtained shooting permits for the documentary we've been discussing, is that correct?
Wait, what?
You obtained shooting permits for the documentary we were discussing?
We're discussing, yeah.
Yeah. You obtained shooting permits for the documentary we've
Yes.
been discussing, yes. What was the title of the documentary in those shooting permits?
Revelations of the Mayans 22 and beyond.
Did you obtain shooting permits for a documentary with any other name?
No.
Okay. Sir, what is your full name?
Raul Julia Levy?
Have you ever used any other name?
Yani.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you ever gone by the name Salvador Alba Fuentes?
Objection as to, ambiguous as to the word gone.
Have you ever used the name for any purpose, Salvador Alba Fuentes?
Objection ambiguous as to the word used.
Are you going to answer? Just because he makes an objection doesn't mean you don't answer. Unless he instructs you not to answer, and that's fine. We'll come back and do it another time. You understand that I'm asking you, sir?
Could you narrow it in time? I mean,
Have
since you're way out there, you're overbroad.
No.
Ever?
No,
You mean
no.
since he's like
Have you-
1 year old?
Have you ever, this is not a hard question, have you ever used the name Salvador Alba Fuentes?
That's ambiguous, used.
The Sheriff's Department investigative report compared mugshots and DMV photos of Raul Julia Levy, Salvador Alba Fuentes, and Salvador Fritz and determined that they're all the same person. The Sheriff's investigative report compared fingerprints of Salvador Alba Fuentes, Salvador Fritz, and Raul Julia and determined that they all belong to the same person. So I'm asking you again, have you ever used the name Salvador Alba Fuentes?
Wait a minute, I'm going to need a second with my client because I've got to clarify something.
Off record.
I guess so.
We're going off the record at 4:14.
If he's leaving.
We are back on the record at 4:16 p.m.
Have you ever gone by the name Salvador Alba Fuentes?
No.
Never gone by
No.
that name? Okay. Can you explain to me how the Sheriff's Department investigative report could compare your mugshots and your DMV photos with those of Salvador Alba Fuentes and say that your mugshots and DMV photos are the same person, and compare your fingerprints with Salvador Alba Fuentes and say that they're the same fingerprints, and yet you claim that you never went by that name?
Objection calls for speculation. It's compound. Calls for speculation. How would he know what the police are going to do?
No, I'm asking whether you have some explanation for why a police report could compare photographs of you and fingerprints of you and come to the conclusion that you use that name as an alias. Why are they wrong? What did they do wrong?
Objection.
What is wrong about that?
Objection calls for speculation, and it doesn't. They're not pointing to him and that whatever that is. You're assuming there's something that maybe correlates him to that.
I'm not going to argue.
It's-
All I'm asking you
He
is,
gave
do
you
you
the
have
answer,
any explanation for why?
Calls for speculation. Don't answer.
I'm sorry, I don't have a whole question.
Yeah. Would you let me conclude the
Go ahead.
question
Go
before
ahead.
you object? and then you can object and instruct him not to answer. Do you have any explanation for why the sheriff's investigative report would conclude that the mugshots and the DMVO photos, as well as the fingerprints of Raul Julia Levy and Salvador Alba Fuentes are identical in the same person? Yeah.
Objection calls for speculation,
Okay.
assumes facts not in evidence. Don't answer.
Okay. At your testimony before Arbitrator Phillips, you indicated that you knew someone by the name of Salvador Alba Fuentes and therefore used that name at some point. Do you recall that? Don't recall that testimony.
Yes or no?
I don't recall the name of Salvador Alva.
All right, no,
I don't know.
all right, so
Okay, so is the name that you recall Salvador Fuentes?
Yes.
So have you used the name Salvador Fuentes?
I'm not going to object.
Yes.
You use the name
Yes.
Salvador Fuentes. So this whole long thing we just went through was because you
It's
felt...
because you're twisting things. You said Alba, and I never used that name before.
Okay, so, and you didn't think you could have said to me, sir, I never used the name
He has
Alba,
no duty to
but I used the name
rephrase the
Salvador
question.
Fuentes. No, he has a duty not to be dishonest in his testimony.
I'm not being
And
dishonest.
That's pretty...
That wasn't dishonest.
Yeah, no, I...
You had the wrong
after you
name.
coached him, yeah, and you
You had the
coached him.
wrong name.
Be very careful to make sure that he uses the Alba, because then otherwise the truth will come out, which you seem to be so concerned about.
I'm not concerned about it.
Only when it
I'm
affects
not
me. you.
concerned about it a bit.
I guess you're not, since you've instructed your witness to testify in a way
You had the name wrong.
that would hide the truth.
Have you ever been called Stein Larry?
If someone did, I'd say my name is Larry Stein, not Stein Larry. Yeah, I would not pretend like I never heard that name before.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
You're a good Samaritan.
No, I'm an honest individual.
Okay.
When did you start using the name Salvador Fuentes?
Objection to the term start. He never said he did it more than once, did he?
Well, if he did it once, there was a start time for when he did it once.
No, that's not
No.
reasonable.
Okay.
That infers there's more
When
than
did you
once.
use the name? When you say, when did you start, when's the first time it was ever used? I'm not saying it was multiple. He'll tell me whether, I'm not gonna, you're wasting our time. Tell me when you used the name Salvador Fuentes.
Must to be like around 87, I think. Or I don't recollect exactly, but I think it was 86. 87.
And in what manner did you use the name?
Well, to get booze, to get alcohol, to get into establishments that would allow me to get in as a legal person, legal age.
You used a false identification because you were underage?
And I was convicted of using that ID. Yes, I was informed by the judge not to ever use that name again because it wasn't my name.
And for how long did you use that name?
For as long as Fuentes was not aware of, maybe 2-3 years.
So you're saying that you used that name from 87 until 90?
Probably, yes. I don't have any recollection.
So you
I don't recall.
probably used it on more than one occasion, didn't you?
No.
No, you only used it once.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. You know,
course.
yes, maybe 1 or 2, yes.
So
yes.
the objection to the
Sure,
fact
the
that
bottom line is not my name and I'm not Fuentes. Is that where you're going? That's not.
the fact that I used the word started, which implied you used it more than once, turns out
A
to
few
be
times,
accurate.
yes.
Okay. That is not your birth name?
No, sir.